Good afternoon, everybody. It's about 8 minutes past 6 on Thursday, the 25th of June 2020, and welcome to this seminar, which we're going to talk about some of the challenges that there are to young people at the moment. I'm David Jameson. I'm the Police and Crime Commissioner for the West Midlands, and we have a number of people here. Two of the people are my youth commissioners who very regularly feed back information to me. That's Melvin and Hunza. But there are many other voices here today that are going to be contributing as well. I don't think in my lifetime there's been a greater challenge for young people. It has come about largely because of the COVID-19 situation. It's people of my age are going to suffer the health problems they're coming from, mainly but not exclusively. But it is the younger generation, those who are currently in school and those who are leaving school in their teens and early 20s, some of them are in employment as well, are going to suffer all the effects, the social and economic effects that are going to be absolutely profound in the next weeks and months. Unemployment is going to soar, I'm sad to say, and we're going to see many other things that come from that. I have said that there will be some young people, certainly not all, but there'll be a minority who will then turn to antisocial behaviour and crime and other things as well. But we as a society now have got to take command of this. We've got to do something about it. And this is why I want to listen to some of the younger voices that are here tonight, but we'll be here in other forums as well to look at the way forward, not look back. We've got to look forward to where we're going to go in the next 5-10 years and how we're going to get over this problem we have at the moment. What I'm hoping will come out of this meeting and others that we may have to follow up is that I want to have a youth charter, a young people's charter that sits alongside of my police and crime plan as a plan of action of what we're going to do to actually assist young people. When I was re-elected in 2016, I had a youth manifesto which set out many of those ideas. But what I want to do now in the present situation is put together more of those ideas in the situation that we find ourselves in currently. That's really all I want to say. So I'm going to stop there. Firstly, I'm going to hand over to one of my senior officers in my violence reduction unit, Carl Binns, who is then going to hand over to Rashid, who will be facilitating this evening. So thank you all very much. Carl, over to you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, and good evening, everyone. So, yeah, as the Commissioner said, I'm Carl. I'm the Programme Manager for the Violence Reduction Unit, and I wanted to really just set out some initial thoughts, really, as to who we are as a unit, what it is that we do, and I think why this conversation today is really important. So, you're probably thinking, you know, what is the Violence Reduction Unit? And I think, in short, it is a collective, really, of individuals that are sort of working towards making the West Midlands a safe and fulfilling place for young people to sort of grow up and prosper. And I think as part of that, it is about how we make sure that you don't feel like you are having to go out of your homes and be in fear of violence, but also broader things in relation to safety, your opportunities. And I think as part of that, it's really critical that we do hear from the voice of young people, that we understand some of the issues that you're facing and are able to incorporate that into some of the things that we do as a unit. And we work across a number of agencies. So I think we work with police officers who some of you young people will come into contact with. We also work with health professionals and others. And I think it is about how we are able to work with you as young people, but also a broad range of partners across those different agencies to think about how we're able to make some tangible changes. So I think I don't want to say too much more than that. I really want to kind of leave space for this conversation for you to really speak about some of the things that you're facing, some of the issues that are happening across the world really at the minute, and for us to really work towards thinking about how we can continue this conversation going forward. So thanks very much for joining us this afternoon, and look forward to the conversation, really. I'll hand over to Rashid now, who will talk a little bit more about the structure for the conversation and how that conversation will go for the rest of this call. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl, and thanks, Commissioner, for the introduction there. Just for those of you that are joining us on YouTube, just a little bit of background to the event and set the scene a little bit. Today is really about placing young people at the very centre of the decision making that will happen through the PCC and the VRU teams. The session has been organised by the PCC and the VRU offices in collaboration because they strongly believe that young people play a really vital role in the region's response to the challenges that we're currently facing. This is a really critical time for our communities, and most importantly our young people, because they've been disproportionately affected by lockdown. And even before the lockdown, the consistent challenge of exploitation and violence that's affecting young people within our region has been a real issue locally. It's a burning issue, and it's one that we really need to get our hand on. Following the recent tragic death as well of George Floyd, the world has seen, just what the power of young people is. It's been mainly young people that have driven forward the change agenda, including and mainly here in the West Midlands as well. But today's a real opportunity for us to use this energy by bringing these 11 young people, our special guests today, who you'll meet soon, and they've come from across the region, and they're going to help to shape the thinking, but most importantly, hopefully help to influence the actions of the policymakers across our region. So that's a really important part of today. We're going to use the time today to share a little bit about the findings of a local survey that was undertaken by the local VRU. And that went right across the voluntary and statutory sector, with hundreds of young people from across the region coming forward and sharing their views. But most importantly today, our special guest will help us to start the journey of setting some recommendations of how young people will be at the centre of decision making as we move forward. I'd urge all of our panel members to be frank in your responses. And even for those of you at home that are tuning in, please send us your comments, send us your questions. As difficult and as uncomfortable as it gets, that's exactly what we need right now. We're in the territory of asking awkward questions. So please, I'd urge you to send in whatever you've got, and we'll try to address some of those. And also what I'd like to say is that, just as a kind of note of caution really, we're not sure what we're going to be talking about today. There's no script. These young people haven't met before to plan anything. So if anything that we say today is upsetting, or if there's anything that you really want to follow up on, please leave some comments or leave your contact details and somebody will get back to you, because this is a new way of working and some of it is still very raw. So let's be open and honest about that. So without further ado, let's meet our special guests to find out who they are and where they've come from today. So can I just go to, let's just see, I'm going to have to pick on somebody if I can get my screen on. So sorry to pick on you. Can we start with Ian, please? Could you tell us who you are, where you're from, and really why you've joined us today?
Hi, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here. My name is Oyin Adebayo, full name Oyinkansola Adebayo. I am one of the youth advisors at Urban Herd Youth Engagement Specialist. I also run my own organization called Neo Enterprise. We literally use hair, beauty, and technology as tools to economically empower Black women. And so I know what it feels like to be a Black woman in Britain. Because I'm a first generation migrant. I migrated here from Nigeria 10 years ago now. And I have a Black brother and I see the disparities that affect him. So I'm just here to kind of, speak about some of the issues that we may face that may not look obvious to other people of color. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for that overview, and thanks for your honesty in that. It's really nice to have you here. Can I please move on to Josh? Hi, Josh.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear, Josh. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, my name's Josh McKenzie. I'm actually 20 years old. Prior to kind of even knowing anything about this, just a regular student, doing regular things as everyone else does. And for me, I kind of got involved in business through Blastbeat, with Kit, through Life Proof, and Aspire for You with Kit. And he kind of taught me a lot of life lessons when it comes to, not just within school and how to succeed within school, but, outside in life, and how, there's different skills that you really need to survive in the outside world, which young people are getting, but aren't getting as much as they could be, especially young people of color. Recently, about 3 years ago, I was kicked out of college for a situation which nothing malicious, just, typical teenage stuff. But from that, learned from that when I got a full-time job. And then recently started my own online business to do with making money online. So that's it from me.
Thank you, Josh. Josh, sorry if you mentioned this and I didn't hear you. Where are you from, Josh? Which part of the West Midlands, please?
I'm from Birmingham.
Thanks, Josh. Just helps me later on when we move forward. Thank you. Next on my screen, welcome Melvin.
Hi, I'm Melvin. I am one of 2 representatives for Wolverhampton as a youth police crime commissioner. And today I'm here just to speak on issues facing young people and talk about the Black Lives Matter movement and how we as young people can move forward and make a difference that are facing young people at the moment. So yeah, that's why I'm here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Melvin. Melvin's done the sensible thing and found a spot of shade somewhere under a tree. I'm here hosting.
Yeah.
Well done, Melvin. Renee, welcome.
Oh. Hi, my name's Renee. I'm 18. I'm from Birmingham. I've been involved in quite a few things, such as the police cadets and street teams, which deals with exploitation of children and young people in Warsaw. So I'm really interested to kind of like hear what everyone thinks about how we can make Birmingham, Warsaw, and the West Midlands a safer place, and just get involved in the debate, really.
Thanks, Renee. Can we move on to Jessica, please? Hi, Jessica.
Hi, my name's Jessica Mansell. I'm from Samwell, and I'm chair of the local youth forum there. I've come on call today to learn from others in the West Midlands and to share my experiences about policing in Samwell.
Brilliant, thank you. Thierry, please.
Hi, my name's Thierry. I'm 16 years old and I'm from Birmingham, Great Bar, so I'm quite local when it comes to certain issues that happen in the community. I work with MAD Birmingham, and I'm basically just here today to like get involved in the debate. I've also been a very active member in the Black Lives Matter movement, and I just want to hear what everyone else has to say and just talk about how to make a change. Since I'm fresh out of senior school, I kind of, I have recent experience as to what goes on with young people, and I just want to basically put my viewpoints forward as to what I think needs to change and how we can make it better.
Brilliant. Thank you very much and welcome. Maida, hello.
Hi, I'm Maida and I'm 12 years old. I'm probably one of the youngest ones here, and I'm actually a part of the Dudley Youth Council, and I just wanted to come here to join the debate and give my opinion out. And obviously it's very new to me because I just started Dudley Youth Council this year, and I just want to hear everybody else's opinion as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Maida. I can confirm you are the youngest here, but that really helps us to have more of an age spread. So thank you very much for joining us today. It's very kind of you. Can we move on to Caprice, please? Hi, Caprice.
Hi, I'm Caprice. I'm 17. I'm with Mad Birmingham, and I'm here really to just try and give feedback on what we can do in the community to make it better and stuff. That may help or make change.
Thank you very much. And Hunza, please.
Hi, I'm Hunza. I'm 15 years old. I'm a West Midlands Police Youth and Crime Commissioner, and I'm here today to learn, most importantly, but also hear about others' experiences and see how I can learn from their experiences and what I can do to better improve myself when it comes to these issues.
Brilliant, thank you. And Humaira, please.
Hi, I'm Humaira. I'm 20 years old and I'm currently working for an NGO, ICRA Supplementary School in Warsaw. So we work with a lot of children of colour, and I've also worked with INA Community Hub. It's the twin organisation which helps women of colour. And yeah, I just want to hear people's experiences. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We have a very youthful looking Wahid Salim on the call as well.
That's very good of you to do that. The checks in the post, as they say. I'm Wahid Salim. I'm not going to tell you what my age is, but I'm the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner, and young people is in my portfolio area on behalf of the Commissioner, and I'm here specifically to listen today and see and get some understanding of the views of young people and what it means to be a young person today, considering all the challenges that we are facing as a society, not just through COVID, but also the economic realities that are now hitting, and also more importantly, the Black Lives Matters. What's been really interesting is a lot of the Black Lives Matters protests and issues that come out are led by young people. So it's very important that we hear from them and look at how we can make and support them in making society and our community better.
Thank you, Wahid. That's a very important overview for us to hear. Before I introduce you to your host for the rest of this session, can I just check that I haven't forgotten anyone or there's nobody dropped off my screen? If I have, could you jump in now? I think we're good. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Tamzia, please, to lead us through the first part of this session. Thanks, Tam.
Hello, guys. I hope all of you is okay. So obviously, my name is Tamzia. I'm from Coventry, and I actually work for Positive Youth Foundation. I'm an apprentice, joint skiing, and youth work. Obviously, I've come onto the call. I've seen everyone. It's nice to see you all as well. But I know you guys said this was a debate. I didn't really think it was a debate. So yous are coming in with fire with each other. Just like send a little text so we all know that you're gonna have or raise your hand. I think there's a raise your hand option. So, anyway, going back to the actual theme of what we're doing, like the question I have is, how can us young people influence like policymakers, the people that are at the top, to make West Midlands a fair and safe place? If anyone wants to answer, like, you know what?
I think we lost Tam there slightly. He fell off the call a little bit. So Tamzia's outlined, you're back in the room, Tam. Yeah, so Tam's outlined kind of where we're going today. Tam, do you want to just briefly talk about some of the findings from the survey that went right across the West Midlands, just to set the scene a little bit?
Yeah. So obviously, we've done a survey through the whole of West Midlands. So all these questions and things that we're gonna go through, like, is already been done by the young people, like, is their opinions. So, like, what I got a question for you guys, yeah. So young people say that we want an area where everyone is treated the same. What do you guys think about that?
So I think when we talk about everyone being treated the same, I think it actually has to start from our education system. It has to start from our schools. I know that when I was a lot younger, I'm 24 now, I didn't say my age earlier on, but when I was a lot younger, at the age of 12, 13, I had a thick Nigerian accent, came to the UK for the first time. And I was the only Black girl in my class at that time. And actually the level of disparities that exist between me and my counterparts, and the level of racism, for lack of a better word, I had from my peers, my 12-year-old peers, was actually absolutely abysmal. And also my sister, I have a sister as well. She got managed move because people were intimidated by her, okay? Based upon how well-spoken she was, how boisterous she may have been. And I think it has to start from educating the teachers, educating other people of other races about how and about how to actually engage and how to make sure that we can actually talk to each other as human beings, first of all, because some of the frustrations and some of the issues with crime or whatever you may call it, you know, among Black people is actually to do with the lack of understanding. A lot of people misunderstand Black females and Black males. So I think it has to start from school. We have to address it from you know, the education system, or else we'll find it, you know, steaming it into our society.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's nice hearing from you still. Does anybody else want to jump on that?
I agree with Ian. I think it's important for our education system, but also it's important to educate ourselves first. If we know people from our communities who are racially discriminated against, or there are a chance of that happening, we need to understand and understand their struggles, and we need to be able to show that we support them, not just through now where it's where the support has to be at an all-time high, but constantly, not once the well, not once the trend, if that's what you could say, has died down, but even after everything that's happened, we still need to show our support and show that it's not just a one-time thing, it's a lifelong thing that we have to do.
Of course. Thank you. So literally, that's brilliant feedback from you guys, literally, and especially that the story about your sister as well. So the next bullet point is, so people say they witness racism or discrimination sometimes, and in places that should be safe, and they feel it isn't safe. What do you guys think about it? Because me personally, I feel that is completely wrong, and I think it's wrong, but it happens.
Hi, could I speak on that? So when I was younger, I want to say about 12, 11 years old, this was my first couple of weeks into secondary school, and I personally received racist comments on the bus. And I grew up in Great Bar, and this area isn't really known for, you know, racial abuse or like racial attacks that go on in the area. And sometimes I think a lot of people feel like certain issues that go on within the community, whether it's racism, violence, is within one area. It only happens here or here or here, but people need to understand that it's everywhere. It's widespread, and just because you come from a certain background doesn't mean that you're immune or people wouldn't act in that type of way. So I also think it's about raising awareness that whether or not you live in a wealthy area or you come from a more impoverished area, that these issues are everywhere. Violence can happen in, you know, the poshest or the richest of areas. I really think it is about making people aware that this is everywhere, and it's not just within one area. And sometimes it makes me feel not safe to go out to certain places because I'm like, I could receive some racial comments or somebody could try and be violent towards me. And so, yeah, that's basically what I have to say on that. Thanks.
Hi, I'd like to add, Josh, yeah. As far as obviously this situation, for me personally, I feel like a lack of education and a lack of actual understanding is what allows people to discriminate in the first place. I mean, one thing that I've read is, you know, what you fear, you seek to destroy, if that makes sense. And what you fear tends to be things that you don't understand. But as soon as you have an understanding, you tend to have a different perspective. So I feel like not just kind of looking at the, how would I put it? I say the symptom of the cause. You got to look at the actual, you know, the actual problem in general. And I feel like that's a perspective that a lot of people have towards different races. That's what allows that kind of segregation to happen. But I feel like if you break it down and you bring it back to the I'm talking education in nursery, like if you bring it down to that level and that level of, you know, subconscious awareness, because it's also conscious at the end of the day, and then it, you know, becomes conscious later on, but it's been taught somewhere. So if it can be broken down there and really made apparent that, you know, everyone is equal and those that equality is really enforced, I feel like from doing that from a young age, growing up, it's going to be a lot easier to make those changes and do different things, because, you know, a habit is something that's very hard to break once it's a habit. Like that's just factual. That's just how it is. You can't say to someone, you know, stop smoking straight away and expect them to start smoking. And I'm not saying, you know, racial ideas are the same as smoking, but at the same time, they have to be addressed in a certain way that is effective enough to, you know, really break it down and deal with it in a much more long-term view than just, okay, this situation happened, let's deal with that person and punish that person. Where is it coming from? That's what needs to be looked at. Well, that's what I feel needs to be looked at a lot more anyway.
Facts. Thank you so much. Really. So the question was, what somebody said was, we witness racism and discrimination and sometimes places that should be safe aren't. That was the question. And obviously I understand what you were saying, like it is what they understand and what people take in. While you were talking, I was just thinking like it could even be like how people are raised, because some people might have parents that actually are racist, but then they're probably not racist themselves, but they're grown into it and it's become a habit. And like you used the smoking thing, obviously that was a very good reference, by the way. So yeah, the next bullet point that we're going to go on to is we need to create an environment where all young people are able to develop a sense of self-value and ambition in order to succeed. Like, I have thoughts in my head on that. What do you guys think? Shall I repeat the question?
Can I speak on that one?
Yeah,
If that's okay. This is Renee, by the way. I completely agree with that statement, mostly because growing up, going through like secondary school and sixth form, I want to pursue a career in law. And oh, sorry, I'm really hot, by the way, so just ignore me. But I want to pursue a career in law, and I don't see a lot of people that kind of look like me that do careers like that. And when I asked my school to kind of help me get work experience in terms of law, they said to me they couldn't like do that for me, and I'd have to do something else, like working in the primary school. And obviously I didn't want to do that, but then some other people that aren't of the same ethnic background as me managed to get law work experience in that kind of environment. And I haven't actually had an explanation as to why that did happen, but I would definitely like to see more people giving other people of ethnic backgrounds that are different, obviously white, in more ambitious and successful kind of career choices, because that doesn't really happen at the moment.
I can agree with that. I think that in schools, a lot of the time, the opportunities that are bought, for example, like Renee mentioned, work experience, a lot of the opportunities are primary school related. If you want to go into a work experience or do any sort of job that's more competitive, part-time or full-time, if you're from an ethnic minority, it's harder for you to get there. And something that I read is that if you want to get those jobs, you have to push yourself more than somebody who has the ability to get that job easier and more faster.
Just to Renee, just to encourage you, if you can connect with me if you want. I have a couple of friends who are in law that could help and mentor you. So you could actually reach out to me if you want. And these women are Black women as well.
Thank you.
No worries, no worries.
I'll definitely be in touch. I did manage to get work experience in terms of politics with Birmingham City Council, but I'm definitely looking for other options as well.
Awesome. I think also one of the things as well, when it comes to this thing about, want to create a safe environment for all young people to be able to feel safe, I think we have to address the issues for each ethnic minority. Now, the term BAME, B-A-M-E, I actually personally don't like it. The reason why I don't like it is that the experience of an Asian person is very different from the experience of a Black person, in my opinion. The type of issues that an Asian person may have is different from the type of issues that a Black person may have. So we actually need to really explore what are the challenges, what are the problems that each ethnic minority are facing. For example, my problem as a Black woman, the root of it might be rooted in poverty, but the root of maybe an Asian person may be rooted in, I don't know, something else, religion. I can't speak for Asians because I'm not an Asian. So we really have to address the roots of the different ethnic minority problems or challenges and actually tackle them that way. So for example, if a Black woman or Black man is suffering with, the root of it is poverty, what are the solutions that we can bring in there? And that's why I run the organization I run, to be able to bring solutions, to be able to make Black people come out of poverty, because this is the reason why, we're having this vicious cycle of inequality.
Yeah. I hear that. So the next question is, people need to be visible. Sorry, my bad. Let me reload that. Police need to be visible not only when things go wrong. And
can I speak with that? Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can speak on that. Come on.
Okay. Here in Samwell, we have an awesome police community officer, I think that's what they're called, who comes and visits our senior schools, who talks about the sorts of things that the police do and does it in a friendly and approachable manner. And especially in Samwell, when we had the metal detector knife things come into our schools, they had a team that was friendly and approachable. And so I feel like that's a good example of where police are when things don't go wrong. They're just there to educate, to help.
I hear that.
Can I add on to that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. For me personally, and obviously again, this is just from my perspective. When I look at policing and different things like that in general, I feel like again it does come down to how it's initially interpreted. Because growing up in an area where there's high crime rates, high stabbings, shootings, and different things like that, there's going to be the influence in school of those children who maybe have uncles that are in this and that. And there's always that stigma of, don't talk to the police, or they call feds, and all those different languages and words to describe the police. And instead of us actually being educated on how the police operate through a platform which is from a higher power, we kind of learn through our peers and other people who are doing wrong things. So I feel like that just sit down and that understanding and actually just building relationship with police from a younger level will allow us to then feel more comfortable, more safer around police, instead of only witnessing them in a different matter. And then it's a case of, okay, do what I say, but why? Because I said so, you know what I mean? And if that was the situation with my parents, I need to know why, you know what I mean? Like, because I said so isn't enough. Yes, because it's a law, but that understanding from a younger level, that build up of trust, that build up of relationship, I really believe can have a higher influence and a bigger impact, leading on to crimes and so on when they go forwards. Because then the perspective of the police will be, okay, maybe this is my friend, maybe he's here maybe I can speak to this person, instead of, oh, they're just coming here to arrest this guy, or just coming here to give brutality and different things like that. So again, that communication is important. Go on.
Trust me, I hear that. Rashid raised his hand. If we could literally hear what Rashid has to say.
I think Hunza wanted to say something, so I'll come in after Hunza has had her time.
All right.
I wanted to say, I feel like in different areas, for example, like Jessica mentioned with the schools and the community officers, a lot of schools will want that police engagement because they can see the problem, they can see that the people are being influenced in what some might say the wrong terms when it comes to the police. However, in some areas, some schools and some communities don't want to engage with the police at all. And that's not because there isn't a problem, that's just because they themselves can't see the issue, or because they are so disconnected from the children or the students are at the school that they can't see that the police influence or a senior influence of somebody in power needs to be there in a friendly manner all the time. Whereas it's not seen in those areas where people don't want the police to be there at all. And I think the main step to identifying that would be for people of power in those schools and in those community centres to actually get on the low grassroots levels with their students and actually speak to them. Because once they do that, that's when they have the power and they can use their connections to bring in the police and bring in other people to actually support them.
Of course. Obviously, before anybody else talks on this, obviously, I just wanted to give my opinion. Let me step away from being a host. As me, Tamzir, I personally feel like the question that's saying police need to be more visible, I feel like they are visible, but only in some areas. They're visible in the areas they feel comfortable to be visible. Say, the areas that has more crime, the areas that have more big problems, they're visible, but they're only visible to stop these crimes. They're visible to arrest people. But them being visible in schools and things like that is not really on a positive kind of vibe, if you understand what I mean.
Thanks, Tam. I'm just going to come in and ask a question about something we can't really ignore because it's so raw and it's so important. I'm going to ask you, as a specialist panel of young people, about your views on what happened in Brixton yesterday. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about the role of police, role of authority, and also the role of young people, social media. There's lots of things to discuss. So it might not be a bad idea just to spend a few minutes. If you haven't had a chance yet, jump in now. If you have spoken already and you've got something to share, carry on. So over to you guys. I'll keep it as open as that.
Yeah, let's get some other people speaking, if that's okay. So, obviously, if you do not know what happened in Brixton, I only found out this morning. So all I can tell you that there was police that came to a block party, I think it was. They came in and they surrounded the whole area trying to cut the party off. But then the young people weren't having it. I seen it on Instagram. The police was chasing the gathering, and then the next minute, you know, police are running away, vans are getting smashed up, and things like that. Obviously, at a young person's view, it sounds like, yo, they're mashing, like they're beating up the police cars, but there's a reason why these police, obviously, the people get happy when police are like, what's the word, when they're getting violated, like that's what happened in Brixton. So what do you guys think is the reason why that happened?
Yeah, it's me. There was a video circulating that apparently 2 people actually got stabbed. I don't know if that was before or after, but it kind of makes sense why that was happening, if you get what I mean, from the angle I heard it from, because I only found out like this afternoon as well. But to me, it just sounds terrifying, really, and there just needs to be a different approach in how things are done. But at the same time, if someone is there stabbing people, then only you have to do it in like a way similar to that, really, in my opinion.
I hear that. Seriously. I heard about the stabbing as well, but I honestly didn't. I don't know if it happened before or after, but obviously I hope the person survived. I'm not sure. Does anyone else have anything to speak on the Brixton problem? No?
All
All
I
right,
can,
then. Oh.
no, all I'd really add is again, for me, I'm very much on like mindset and how we perceive things, because I feel like that's where all our actions stem from. And instead of us actually reacting, it's better to just respond in what's relevant to that situation. Like, obviously, when a herd gets together, that herd mentality can take over. But if we actually just think as individuals for a second and just think what's actually wise to do, then obviously once we take that action, we can influence others to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry. Yeah, I just want to add to that. I think in terms of, I don't know what happened in Brixton. I've not actually seen any footage myself, so I can't give much accurate feedback. However, that type of behavior, that type of unsocial behavior that occurred in Brixton, is actually very much embedded in young people wanting to feel among that negative peer pressure. If you actually look at the individuals, I don't know, again, the individuals, if you ask the individuals what they really want, they may actually have positive responses, but there's this glorification of bad behavior. And actually, what I think needs to be done is put in the right tools. So, Urban Head, for example, do amazing things with young people, allowing them to express themselves through music, give them the right tools. When you actually, we're not talking about drugs here, but when you actually look at the reasons why a lot of young people get involved with drugs, it's actually because of poverty. I'm going to keep screaming about poverty because I think that this is at the roots of a lot of crime. It's actually about poverty. You've got a lot of people, entrepreneurial minds, when they can click, just as Josh said, when they can click in their mind that it's actually about a mindset, actually thinking, actually, I can change this. That's when, and I think that's how the police can help change. Back to the point about, how can the police support or whatever. I think it's also to do with how the police are perceived to these young people. When people say screw the feds or F the feds or whatever, they're looking at the feds as like a negative connotation. From Urban Herd, I know that the police does support, but it's about educating the young people about how the police can support. For example, my mom, when the police comes to knock on my door, for example, my mom gets really scared because in her mind, she thinks the police is here to arrest me. But actually, the police may just be there to help you. And so And so, you know, do we explore, you know, de-uniformizing some policemen so that people don't feel as intimidated by them? So these are the kind of things that, you know, I think we can explore.
Say no more. Listen, we're gonna come back to what you just said there, but I'm gonna jump on the last bullet point. So somebody said on the survey, someone said that Black people get stop and search problems, get more stop and search problems. Like, this has been going on for a long time, and obviously that one statement definitely relates to the reason Black Lives Matter happen and things like that. So obviously I don't want this topic to go on too long, but if I could get like a short answer from everyone, see what you guys actually think about that. Yeah, if you want to speak.
Okay. So I don't want to speak too much because I want to give everyone else the opportunity also to speak. However, I think the thing with stop and search, my friend sent me a video some time ago of two friends. They went to Aldi. One of them was Black, one of them was white. But the black friend was the one that was stopped and searched and was almost suspected to having drugs on them. And so it actually comes back to stigma. What is the stigma that maybe police officers have in their minds? Because actually the person with the white person, you know, may also have drugs on them. And actually it turned out that the Black guy was humiliated, actually handcuffed, handcuffed and actually humiliated in that time. And that can cause a lot of trauma, which could cause crime. So we don't actually realize the links between trauma, the links between discrimination and crime. So it's actually, how do we make sure that we remove the stigma? And that comes with understanding, and understanding comes from education.
Yeah, hear that. So yeah, Melvin and Caprice, I want to hear from you.
Yeah. I just think when it comes to stop and search and the relationship between police, when Black people are more likely to get stopped and searched compared to their white companions, it develops that stigma between police and Black people. And when you hear a lot of things like F the police and all of that, it's because we don't have a relationship with the police where we think we can be protected by them when we're always the target. And I feel like that's something we need to tackle first, and then we will see a change in how stop and search is done and how we can feel more comfortable with the police when it comes to these situations. So yeah, thanks.
100%.
What was the question again? Sorry.
So it was literally a statement saying Black people are more likely to be stop and search. What do you think about that?
I feel like it's probably the way we might be perceived as we carry ourselves. Or like people messing about because they're quite bored and stuff. So I feel like that's one reason why. And obviously when there's a group of just Black people running around and stuff, obviously it might look a bit like we need to be cautious. That's probably one reason why.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Can I add on to that?
Please do, John.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah? No?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, okay, cool. I'm just reading a statistic now. As far as stop and searches, I believe 25% of stop and searches are actually effective, which means it's basically an inefficient model. I would say when it comes to stop and search in general, it shouldn't be off, what you think or what you feel. We've got a lot of technology in today's day and age where we should be utilizing that a lot more than people's perception and biases to, stop people based on, different things. Because myself personally, I'm actually someone who's been stop and searched just for having people in my car and being in a different city. And because I was there on a late evening, automatically stop and searched and all of this stuff. And there was no sort of anything. You just case of your number plate came up as Birmingham. You're in Derby. So that gives us right to obviously I didn't know my rights at that point. Maybe I shouldn't have got out of the car, wherever it was. But it's like there's so much technology now, there's so much information that you can gather on something to just randomly stop and search someone because of a suspicion, if that makes sense. I feel like there needs to be more layers to it before you can actually say, yeah, I'm going to go and just stop this person or stop that person. Because for someone who, again, me, I'm not someone who's had any run-ins with the law in any sort of case. For someone who's kind of gone through that experience, and I'm someone who's kind of open-minded and kind of willing to accept kind of different things that are happening. When that happens to you and you're the one who's saying, yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with this situation, it's all good, automatically the perspective gets flipped and you're thinking, hold on a second, maybe what everyone else is talking about, maybe there is a situation that needs to be deeper looked into, and maybe there is something that needs to be done to sort this all out. Because obviously the way not even what happened, but the way I felt at that time, the embarrassment, all of that stuff, there's so much stuff that will stay in people's mind and then they'll use against that. So I feel like if that's made more effective, that, you know, we can move forwards with that.
Sure.
Can I just add to that? I think that the education in terms of stop and search is really important, because as a youth commissioner, as somebody who has to bring back what we've been told and what we've been fed back from the police, and we've been given a lot of information about stop and search, and when we take that information back to our schools, our communities, that already creates more information as it is. So I think it's important to have young people who are going to be here to have the education and in those places of power where they can actually feed back information. But I also think one bad experience with any type of law, such as stop and search, can impact. Once you have that bad experience, you can then say, you know what, I've had a bad experience. That can then impact someone else's views. So I think it's the fact that once that top level education comes in, again, it's come back to the idea of education from those power authorities. That's how people can actually be educated on things like stop and search, which unless you've actually been through or you've been stop and search, you won't really know that much about unless you've heard about it.
Thank you. Perfect place. I can't believe the time. We've been speaking for 45 minutes, I think now. Time's just flown. I really want to move us into part of this this kind of gathering today, and really start to take some of these ideas that you guys have all been sharing. And it's been absolutely brilliant what you've spoken about so honestly, so passionately. The next bit really is, what do we do about all this energy and all of this information and all of this expertise that you guys have? How do we use all of this to make sure that the Police Crime Commissioner's Office, the Violence Reduction Unit, and all of the other statutory partners really across the region really begin to not only listen to what our young people and our experts say, but actually do something with it? So that's a very big question. And I'm going to pick on Humera to start with, and then I'm going to come to Maida as one of our kind of younger participants, so we can get a real perspective on ages as well. So sorry to pick on you, Humera. Would you like to kick off? Is it okay if we start with you? You're on mute at the moment, Humera.
Hi, could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sorry, it was a really long question. It was just really about all of this energy that we've got as a group. And there are hundreds of young people across the West Midlands that want to get involved in stuff like this. How do we do that? What should we do next? That it's not just a tick box exercise where we listen to young people. Yeah, we've had an hour on YouTube, job done till next year. How do we really make the change where the voices that you have, the specialisms that you come with, are properly embedded into policy as we move forward?
I think that there could be a much more stronger connection between the youth and the police, and there should be open conversations between people of colour, Black people and the police. And I think that institutions such as schools, especially schools, they could take hate crimes and racism a lot more seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that still.
Thank you, Humera. Can we ask Maida for her views, please?
Okay, so I feel like quite like what Humera said as well, like you know, if you had like a better bond with the police, and you know like there was a racist comment said to somebody, more to be done about it. Like some schools are just brush it away and, you know, say, okay, got 5 minutes detention. Like it should be like more, you know, taken seriously and should be handled like more like seriously, because you know racism can really hurt somebody inside. Like it might not show that much on the outside, but in the inside it really does hurt, and you know it makes someone really uncomfortable. Thank you.
Yeah, literally, like what Rashid was even saying. Like everything that we've been discussing about, we know what we want, but the question is, how is it gonna happen? I have so many ideas in my head, but that opinion is only gonna work for me. You guys have so much ideas in your head but it only makes sense to you. But the way to make it work is that we all talk together and figure out how it's gonna happen. So my question to you is like, we have an education system and things like that we learn, that we grow up. How do you feel like, how do you feel we can change those things to make the West Midlands better and safer and fair?
Hi, can I speak on that?
Yeah.
I definitely think that I still agree with the education, how it needs to be implanted within the education system. Like for me personally, growing up, then going to senior school, leaving primary school, I had no ideas about the controversies that would go on with race, people's sexuality, sexism, people being discriminated because of their age, like all these different issues. And I definitely think that if a program or something like that should be put in place where, even if it comes down to explaining something as simple as definitions, like you could ask young people, like, what does it mean to be prejudiced or to discriminate against somebody, and nobody could be able to tell you. And once again, it's about educating kids, because also kids will come from a certain household, if it's a racist household or households that believe women should stay at home and, you know, the men should go out and work, and they believe that those views are actually positive views, and like this is the way that they should think. And I definitely think that kids should be spoken to, because as much as at that moment in time you think, while they're young, should they really have to go for these type of stuff, it's really important, because some kids also don't know how to go out into the big wide world and deal with those issues, because no one's actually ever spoken to them about it.
100%. Sorry, can I speak? Okay, now go ahead, everybody else.
Oh, gonna go. I think moving forward, when we're in school, I think that because we're not taught about things like Black history, it's not as important, that we have to go out our own way to learn about these issues, and it shows that it kind of shows in society that it's less important compared to things that make up British history, like the Tudors or King Henry VIII. If we educate young people, even from children in nursery from the beginning, about equality and teaching about how Black people were involved or how Asian people are involved, and build up British culture, will take away the stigma with police and young people with race, and amongst society itself. We wouldn't have to have these issues like Black Lives Matter if we educate young people from the beginning about things that actually impact everyone rather than just a set race, if that makes sense.
Literally, makes sense. So what else do you guys think about what the next steps would be? Like I want everybody else, like I know that Malvin and who else has spoke? Thierry, did I say your name right?
Yeah, you said it
I know
right.
you guys brought in your views. I want to hear everybody else's, just like what you think the next step is, so everyone can have their say.
I'll go then. I feel like we should have programs in school where, like for MAD, for example, like we have mentors that go into schools and stuff. So it's like probably just having more programs in school, to like obviously have different perspectives and stuff as well, that could engage with children, so they can like use stuff in like the programs that we do at MAD as well. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So I think another thing that we can actually do is also like parents. Parents are so important.
when it comes to this. So we talk about the school, but we need to educate the parents. Especially with BME, as much as I don't like that term, Black minority ethnic groups, Asians, whatever, we need to actually support the parents from these backgrounds as well. Because you have to remember, a lot of these parents will be first or second generation migrants. So I'm Nigerian. My mom still has a lot of Nigerian mindsets about how to bring up a kid. And that does not always work in the British culture. So it's working with parents from BME backgrounds and also working with parents from other races, from white races as well, to actually give them awareness of what it means to tolerate each other. Like I have I live right now in Sutton Coldfield. My neighbors don't tolerate me. So, and I would love to actually get to know them, but, prejudice and racism.
Yeah. That's how about you, Josh? Or Josh, what do you think?
I think Hamira had her hand up first, so let's
did
you?
Yeah,
I just want to say with regards to the police, I think that, we were talking about stop and search before, and how it should be justified. I think that these random stop and searches on predominantly Black people should really stop. And I think that will provide a greater relationship between Black people and the police. So I do think that the ball really is in the police's court. And with regards to the education system, we do get taught about the British Empire, etc., but we never actually, they don't teach us about the dark side of the British Empire, like concentration camps in Kenya, partition in Pakistan and India, and the slave trade. So I think that should be spoken about a lot more in detail.
I can confirm, as somebody who's in secondary school, I've never been taught about the British Empire firstly, and when I was taught about it, which is when I was much younger, it was very sort of like this is what happened and this is what happened. So for me personally, as somebody who's in South Asian, I think the more I've learned more stuff about my own culture, my own history, culture of people from different minorities than I have in school. Like I didn't know about my own ancestry. I didn't know about the different riots that went on, or the genocides that went on in the 50s, 60s, the early 1900s. And I think the education does start with the school, but it also starts with each other, because if somebody else didn't know about that, then that wouldn't have been spread on social media, which would help me learn about it. So I think schools have a part to play, but it's most importantly, if all of us can have cohesion with each other, then that's how we can actually educate ourselves better. But the school does have a lot to play in terms of actually educating us in a non-biased way.
Can I touch on that, please?
Yeah, sure.
I think I disagree still, because I believe that if we want all people to have the same mindset, we need to teach everyone the same things. If we're only going to teach in school about certain things and we have to teach ourselves, we're never going to have this full representation that we need for everyone to understand us completely. If we're in school learning about Tudors, when we should be learning about the great kingdoms of Africa that were there before the British Empire, them things need to be taught in schools, not on our own. We shouldn't have to do our own research. It should be part of our history that we learn in school for everyone to understand. If we're not learning that, if we have to learn it on our own, it doesn't equate to what everyone else learns. It's like we're inferior, and that it's not at the same level if we have to teach ourselves. I feel like it needs to be in the education system, not just teaching ourselves. Yeah.
I'd like to add on that as well. I feel like, in general, obviously we're in the UK. The UK is a predominantly white country, of course. That's just facts. However, I feel like the issue is the subconscious bias towards white superiority that isn't it's not aggressive, but it's definitely there, and we can all feel it, but you can't put a finger on it, if that makes sense. I feel like for there to be a sense of feeling equal between all of us, that teaching of history, that teaching of where other people come from has to be opened up and explored, and not enforced, because again, the country we're in is a predominantly white country, but in the same time, we need to also understand that other races, other minorities also come from greatness as well, if that makes sense. Instead of just enforcing you know, King James, this guy, that, yeah, that's amazing. You know, Henry, shout out to my guy. But what about, you know what I mean? What about, you know what I'm saying? What about Mansa Musa? What about all these other guys as well? There's loads of other people that we come from that we don't feel like we're entitled to say, but I come from this, but I come from that, because it's not exposed to us. It's not even spoken about in school. I'll be honest with you. I thought that I would be speaking German if the English didn't win the war. I didn't realize that my grandparents even came from the Caribbean, that came from Africa. So there's this whole sense of self-identity which isn't even explored or exposed to people of color, which then, you know, later on creates a lot of different, you know, situations. So if that's just opened out, even just 50% more, there will be a lot more understanding and equality, not just for them, for us of them, but them of us as well, and how they perceive us.
Yeah, sorry for cutting you, but like, you really have very strong opinions, and I agree. I never knew what Mansa Musa was before until my brother even put in his songs and things like that. You know what I mean? Jessica, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think this all comes down essentially to a lack of what's called PSHE in my school, where it's education on society essentially. So I really feel like that what's caused today has roots in what wasn't taught to the generation before us in their lessons. So what we could do going further as an actual physical action is we could involve this group perhaps in how we formulate and include the police in PSHE in schools. It's a really simple step and it shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, I hear that still.
Can I touch on that, please, before we carry on?
I'm so
if you don't
sorry.
mind, or is it too, or can we not? We're short for time.
Yeah, we're very short for time, Melvin.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I feel like we should do a part 2 of this, honestly. I feel like we should do a part 2 of it, because if we don't have these conversations, like, we won't have, like, especially everybody that's listening, especially all the people that actually have the power to make these things happen, like, they are here listening, and it's good that all of you want to give out your opinions. So I'll just send it over to Rashid, if that's okay.
Thanks, Tam. You're more scripted than me. I was going to let Melvin have a couple of minutes there, but you're a hard guy, Tam. Hard man. Thank you. I can't believe the time. We're almost at 7:15, and Tam's absolutely right. I think what this has shown is we need to do this again. I just want to kind of share with those watching it on YouTube that this is the first time that this group has come together. People didn't know each other. We had no script. We've just gone for it and just ended up where we've ended up. And if anything, what it really shows is the power of young people. You know, I'm an old man now, but I always say this is the hardest time I feel it is to be a young person. But all those negative things that we see in the press about postcode issues and gang wars and this and that, look what's happened here. Every area of the West Midlands has come together and represented. Come with your views, sometimes disagreed possibly, but you've been so strong, powerful, and so articulate in what matters to you that we can't ignore this. We have to build on this. And the PCC's office and the VRU teams, you know, they set out a challenge just to say, let's see what happens. And I think what you've done in the last hour and 10 minutes or whatever it's been is just shown the real power of the West Midlands young people and just how lucky we are that we've got a group like you. So thank you so much for joining this last hour. I think just to very briefly wrap it up, there's been some really strong, powerful statements right the way through the hour, but some of the things that I've written down just to come back on. First of all, Josh talked about this statement around what you fear is what you try to destroy. And I think that's a really powerful statement for us to keep in our minds as we end this call, because we can distinguish that fear as young people and as communities. You know, we can do what we can do. However, we can't do it without the changes to policies and structures that we work within. So we have to now use this as the challenge to our PCC's office and our VRU office to say, you've heard the young people, hundreds of young people through the survey, incredible group of experts on the call today. We now need to come back to each and every one of you to say what will happen next from what you've said and make sure that you're involved in every step of the journey. There are many young people, I think, that would want to be part of this, but because they might have other challenges, such as not being in the education system, so they don't get included in that kind of thing. They might be known to the police or the youth offending system or the teams, so therefore they might feel they're at a disadvantage. We have to make sure, as organisers of these things, that there's genuine open equality to these forums, and make sure that young people that really have a story to tell are right at the table as well. So without further ado, I'd like to just bring in our PCC, David Jameson, for a final closure. But before I hand over completely, I just want to give my personal thanks. You've made this an absolute pleasure for the last hour or so. It's been remarkable. And I could have spent a good few more hours with you listening, because everything you said has just triggered off so many different thoughts. So to our experts, thank you very much, each and every one of you. Over to PCC, David Jameson, please.
Yeah, thanks very much, Rashid, for tying this together, and to you, Tamzir, as well, and to all of you for your contribution. Melvin was making a point, and others made the point about history. But, you know, history tends to be what's taught about is the kings, queens, and people who have been famous in society. But whether you're working class, it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, you don't get a look in history lessons, do you? So we never hear the history of ordinary working people. We only hear about the people who are rich and famous. So that is an issue as well. And you know, it's something that that has affected all of us for quite a period of time. I think this has been really very, very helpful. And thank you all very much indeed. There are a number of things that we have done already on Stop and Search, and I think most of those things you can find on my website. We have done an enormous amount to try and make a disproportionality disappear within Stop and Search. We have a better record in the West Midlands than virtually anywhere else in the country, but it's still not good enough, and that's why we've got to do more about it. But there is some more information there for those that want it. What I would be very interested in doing with, and if you want to do this, I would be very interested, as a number of you have spoken both today and in the lead-up meetings that took place in each of the local borough areas. There's a lot of talk about education and the challenges there, and the challenges of the future. And I would like some time to come back and perhaps focus particularly on education and where we move forward with, you know, jobs and prosperity. And, you know, I was just reading today about the number of people who've missed 6 months of their education and won't be in full-time education. That is wrong, and that is going to disproportionately affect people regardless of their ethnicity. It's going to affect those people, young people, in their job prospects in the future. And the poorer you are, the more it's going to hit you as well. So, you know, I have really profound concerns about that for the well-being of young people and for the well-being of society. Anyway, thank you all very much. In the end, look, we all want the same thing. We want the place to be a better place, and that's what I want. In the time you think you're old, Rashid. I'm even old, I mean, nearly twice your age, and all I want is a better place while I'm still here. And, you know, I want you to join in with me in making it a better place. And I think tonight we've taken yet a further step further in doing that. So thank you all very much indeed. And I declare